What happens when one of Hollywood's brightest stars steps onto a stage dominated by television's most provocative host? And nothing goes as expected. The result is a clash of personalities so intense, so raw, that it shatters the usual polished veneer of daytime television. Viewers are about to witness a confrontation where professional boundaries are tested, tempers flare, and the atmosphere becomes electric in ways few could have anticipated. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment, because this is about to become unforgettable. Michael B. Jordan walked onto the set of The View that Tuesday morning, expecting what he thought would be a routine, even pleasant, interview. He was promoting his latest directorial project, a deeply personal film he had poured 3 years of his life into. From the moment he stepped into the studio, he radiated calm confidence, greeting the hosts with warm smiles and handshakes. Whoopi Goldberg offered her trademark welcoming charm, engaging him in lighthearted banter, while Sunny Hostin and other co-hosts organized their notes, preparing to steer the conversation toward his cinematic work. Yet, not everyone seemed interested in keeping the conversation on safe ground. Joy Behar leaned forward with a sharp glint in her eye, a smirk playing on her lips, signaling that she had something entirely different on her mind. "So, Michael," Joy began, her tone both casual and pointed, "before we dive into your movie, I have to ask about something that's been on my mind. Lately, you've been surprisingly quiet about political matters. Are you one of those celebrities who believes silence is the best way to stay marketable?" The question landed like a sudden gust of wind in the studio, taking everyone by surprise. Michael's calm demeanor didn't falter, though his eyebrows lifted ever so slightly in acknowledgement. "I wouldn't describe myself as quiet when it comes to issues that matter," he replied evenly. "I prefer to let my work speak for itself, and to support causes through tangible action rather than just words." Joy's response came immediately, dripping with skepticism. "Action, huh? And what exactly do you mean by action? Posting a black square on Instagram. That's not action, that's performative, and it's not helping anyone." Whoopi attempted a gentle interjection, her voice measured. "Joy, maybe we should focus on the film itself." But Joy wasn't ready to let the moment pass. "No, this is too important to ignore. Here's a young man with millions of followers, enormous influence, and yet he's playing it safe. Meanwhile, the world is struggling, democracy faces threats, and you're worried about how your image appears." Michael's jaw clenched almost imperceptibly, but he maintained his composure. "With all due respect, Joy, you don't know what I do behind the scenes. I work with organizations supporting criminal justice reform, education initiatives, and mental health awareness. I don't need to broadcast every action or opinion to prove my value. My influence is meaningful in ways that aren't always visible to the public." Joy scoffed, leaning back slightly. "How convenient. Listen, kid, I've been in this industry longer than you've been alive. I know when someone is hiding behind public relations speak. Your generation thinks writing a thoughtful Instagram caption counts as real activism." The other hosts exchanged uneasy glances, sensing the tension thickening. Sunny Hostin tried to redirect the conversation. "Michael, can you tell us about the message behind your new film?" Joy cut her off before he could answer, her tone sharpened with anticipation. "Let me guess, it's probably a safe, feel-good story that avoids challenging anyone or anything, right? Something that earns awards and critical praise without stepping on any toes." Michael's professional smile began to strain under the intensity of the exchange. The film delves into generational trauma, systemic inequality, and personal redemption. It draws from real experiences in communities often overlooked by Hollywood. "I spent years developing genuine relationships with the people whose stories inspired this project." Joy repeated the words mockingly. "Generational trauma, systemic inequality buzzwords. Did your publicist write that for you? Because it sounds like every other activist actor angling for awards. Where was this passion when it really mattered? Where were you during the last election, when your voice could have had real impact?" The studio seemed to hold its breath. Whoopi looked visibly uncomfortable, while the other hosts appeared frozen, unsure how to respond. Michael leaned back, his hands clasped tightly together, maintaining a calm tone, but with a growing edge. I'm starting to wonder if you're here to actually have a conversation, Joy, or if this is just a lecture. If this is how guests are treated on your show, maybe I should have stayed home. Joy's eyes lit up, sensing the tension she had provoked. Now we're getting somewhere. Finally, some real emotion instead of that polished Hollywood, nice guy act. This is exactly what I mean. You can get fired up when challenged personally, but where's that energy when it comes to real issues? You don't know anything about what I fight for, Michael replied, his voice rising slightly. You're making assumptions about my character, my values, and my actions based on your perception of my public image, and your idea of what activism should look like. Joy shot back immediately. I know exactly what I see, a privileged actor afraid to take real risks because it might hurt his career. You want to stay likable, keep earning those big paychecks, and avoid the responsibility that comes with influence. The accusation hung in the air like a storm cloud, filling the studio with a tension so thick it was almost palpable. Every eye in the room was fixed on Michael, waiting to see whether he would respond with restraint or match the intensity. Michael stared at Joy for a long, heavy moment, the calm he had maintained all morning finally beginning to crack. The other host sat frozen, caught off guard, clearly unprepared for the personal intensity that had erupted on live television. The studio air felt thick, almost suffocating, as if every word hung in the space between them, waiting to explode. Michael repeated slowly, his voice low but charged with emotion. Let me tell you something about privilege, Joy. I grew up in New York, raised by a single mother who worked multiple jobs just to put food on the table. I know what struggle looks like. I know what it means to fight for opportunities that others take for granted. Every step forward I've earned has been fought for, and I've used every bit of my success to create doors for others who come from the same places I came from. Joy waved her hand dismissively, her tone dripping with skepticism. Oh, here we go, the humble beginning story. Every celebrity has the same sob story when they get called out. Look, I'm not saying your past doesn't matter, but let's be honest about where you are now versus where you started. Michael's eyes narrowed, his posture stiffening with resolve. Where I am now is exactly why I take responsibility for how I use my voice. You think that being loud and controversial on television is the only way to make a difference. Some of us prefer to work quietly within systems, build relationships, and create lasting change rather than just scoring points for the cameras. Joy leaned forward, her fingers tapping the desk, her voice sharp and unyielding. Strategic, she repeated, mockingly. Is that what you call it? Because it looks a lot like cowardice to me. It looks like you're more concerned with protecting your image than protecting the people who need someone to stand up for them. The word landed like a punch. Michael's hands clenched the arms of his chair so tightly that his knuckles whitened. For the first time in the interview, real anger flashed across his face, raw and unmistakable. Cowardice, he said, dangerously quiet, his professional mask slipping entirely. You want to talk about cowardice, Joy? Let's talk about sitting behind a desk, throwing accusations at people you haven't bothered to understand. That seems pretty cowardly to me. Joy's eyes widened with a sense of triumph, as if she had been waiting for this moment. Now we're getting somewhere, she said. Finally, some real fire underneath all that media training. Why don't you show this passion when it comes to speaking out about injustice? Michael leaned forward, his voice rising steadily. Some of us do the work without applause, without needing the validation of the camera. But I guess that's hard for you to understand, isn't it? When's the last time you did anything meaningful that didn't happen in front of an audience? Whoopi tried to step in, her voice soft but urgent. Okay, everyone, let's take a step back. Joy waved her off, relentless. Don't turn this on me. I've been fighting battles here on this show for years, while you've been playing dress-up in superhero movies. At least I'm honest about where I stand. I don't hide behind humble speeches or PR, crafted narratives. Michael's voice rose sharply, charged with incredulity. You think humility is fake? You think taking the time to listen, learn, and understand complex issues before speaking is dishonest? That says everything about your perspective. My character isn't defined by how loud I am, it's defined by what I actually do. Joy laughed, a harsh, cutting sound. That's rich. Someone who built a career playing tough guys, but hesitates to take tough stands in real life. Real character means standing up when it's inconvenient, not waiting until it suits you. The other hosts looked anywhere but at the two of them. Sarah Haynes stared at her hands, her fingers nervously intertwining, while Alyssa Farah Griffin kept glancing at the producers, searching for a lifeline. But Michael wasn't backing down. "You want to talk about character, Joy?" He said, his voice steady but filled with intensity. "Building schools in underserved communities without press conferences. Mentoring young people who remind me of myself at that age, without posting about it on social media. Funding legal aid for families navigating systems designed against them. That's character. Should I keep going?" Joy's expression shifted slightly, but she pressed on, refusing to yield. "If you're doing all of that, why hide it? Why not inspire others to follow your example? Sounds like false modesty to me. Because the second charity work becomes public, some people turn it into a performance review." Michael's reply was sharp, almost cutting. "Nothing is ever enough. Nothing is ever pure enough. Nothing is the right kind of activism for people whose job is criticizing others. So now somehow I'm the problem." Joy's voice dripped with sarcasm. "Not the systems that oppress, not the politicians eroding democracy, but the talk show host who dares to ask questions. Convenient." Michael leaned forward, his composure entirely gone, his eyes locked on hers. "No, Joy, you're not the problem, but you're definitely part of it. You sit here every day, turning complex, real-world issues into sound bites for entertainment. You reduce real struggles to talking points, to score points against guests, instead of genuinely engaging with the work and the people behind the stories." The studio was silent except for the tension radiating between them, each word leaving a trail of shock and awe in its wake. Every viewer watching could feel it, the clash of two strong personalities, neither willing to yield, both forcing a reckoning about what it really means to use influence responsibly. "That's not activism," Michael said, his voice low and cutting. "That's exploitation." The words landed like a bomb, reverberating through the studio. Joy's face flushed a deep red, her anger igniting instantly. "Exploitation.
How dare you?"
"I've been fighting for progressive causes since before you were born. You ungrateful little." Michael interrupted, leaning slightly forward, standing just enough to assert presence without losing control. "Go ahead," he said, his tone calm but sharp. "Finish that sentence. Show everyone exactly who you really are underneath all that righteous indignation." Whoopi slammed her hand on the desk, trying to rein in the chaos.
"Enough, both of you."
"This is completely unprofessional," she said, her voice firm but strained. Joy ignored her, leaning in, her eyes blazing with defiance. "You want to know who I really am?" she said. "I'm someone who doesn't hide behind publicists or carefully curated images. I say what needs to be said, even when it makes people uncomfortable. Unlike some people, who are more concerned with protecting their brand than protecting their principles." Michael's laugh was bitter, the tension in his jaw visible. "Principles?" he said, incredulous. "You don't know anything about my principles. You've spent this entire interview attacking me, judging my character based on assumptions and appearances. You didn't come here to discuss my work, my values, or my contributions. You came here to tear me down for entertainment." Joy leaned forward, unrelenting. "And someone has to ask these questions," she snapped. "Someone has to challenge celebrities who coast on charm and good looks while the world burns around them." Michael shook his head, his expression one of disgust. "Accountable to who? To you, a television personality whose career depends on manufactured outrage and sensationalism. You're not holding anyone accountable. You're creating content for people who get their kicks watching others get humiliated." Joy shot back, her voice rising with intensity. "At least I'm honest about what I do. I don't pretend to be some noble artist while calculating every move for maximum profit and minimum risk. I'm authentic. Authentic." Michael's voice rose, incredulous and sharp. "You think ambushing someone with personal attacks disguised as political commentary is authenticity? This isn't authenticity, Joy. This is cruelty dressed up as journalism. The other hosts exchanged anxious glances, their discomfort palpable. The air felt electric, thick with tension, as if the entire studio was holding its breath. Neither Joy nor Michael showed any sign of backing down. If anything, the intensity between them seemed to feed off itself. "You want to talk about cruelty?" Joy shouted, matching his volume. "Cruelty is staying silent when you have a platform to create real change. Cruelty is disappointing the people who look up to you because it's too inconvenient to take risks. That's the real cruelty here." Michael rose to his feet, towering over the panel with a presence that filled the room. His hands clenched into fists at his sides, his voice steady but laden with controlled rage. "No, Joy. Cruelty is using your position to bully people who come here in good faith. Cruelty is taking someone's dedication and commitment to service and turning it into a weapon against them. Cruelty is pretending that tearing someone down somehow builds anyone else up." The studio fell silent, the weight of his words settling in. Michael's chest rose and fell with measured intensity as he stared down at Joy, his controlled fury radiating through the cameras. Joy, unfazed, met his gaze with equal defiance, her own anger burning bright. The cameras rolled, capturing every moment as the tension stretched unbearably long. Every host and crew member remained silent, watching a breakdown of civility that seemed both horrifying and impossible to look away from. Finally, Joy broke the silence, her voice laced with mock concern. "Oh, are you trying to intimidate me now? Is this how you handle criticism, by standing over someone and glaring? Very mature, Hollywood's golden boy." Michael's fists tightened. "Intimidate you, Joy? No. I'm trying to figure out if you actually believe the nonsense coming out of your mouth, or if you're just committed to creating drama for ratings. Either way, it's pathetic. Absolutely pathetic." Joy shot to her feet, matching his energy with pure venom. "You know what's pathetic? A grown man throwing a tantrum because someone dared to question his precious image. This is entitled behavior, exactly what I've been talking about. Entitled." Michael's voice boomed across the studio. "You've spent the last 20 minutes attacking my character, my integrity, my commitment to causes I've dedicated my life to. And I'm the entitled one for defending myself. Are you even listening to yourself?" Joy stepped closer, pointing at him, unflinching. "I've been trying to get you to show backbone, real conviction about something that matters. Instead, you've proven exactly what I suspected: all image, no substance, no substance." Michael's laugh was sharp, bitter, and cutting. "You want substance," he said, his voice dripping with controlled fury. "Let me tell you what substance looks like. Here's some substance for you," Michael said, his voice steady but burning with intensity. "Every assumption you've made about me tonight has been wrong. Every attack, every jab has been based on ignorance and prejudice. You don't know me, you don't know my work, and you sure as hell don't know my heart." Whoopi was frantically gesturing toward the producers off camera, trying to regain control, but the argument had taken on a life of its own. Sarah Haynes looked like she might cry, her hands trembling slightly in her lap, while the other hosts sat frozen, their faces betraying disbelief. "Your heart," Joy mocked, her tone sharp and condescending. "Oh, please, spare me the emotional appeals. Your heart seems pretty well protected by publicists and agents who make sure you never have to take any real risks or face any real consequences." Michael stepped closer, lowering his voice into a dangerous whisper, making every word resonate in the tense silence. "You want to know about consequences, Joy? Here's a consequence. I came here today with respect for this show, for what I thought it represented. I came believing in good faith dialogue and honest conversation. You've destroyed that completely." "Good." Joy shot back instantly, her eyes blazing. "Maybe now you'll understand what it feels like when people don't handle you with kid gloves. Maybe now you'll develop some real passion for fighting back, instead of always playing it safe." "Playing it safe?" Michael's control snapped completely, his voice rising. "You think this is playing it safe? Standing here on national television, defending my principles and integrity against your attacks? That's playing it safe? You're delusional." Joy's eyes blazed with triumph, as if she had finally extracted exactly the reaction she wanted. "There it is," she said, almost whispering with satisfaction. "Finally, some real emotion, some real fire. This is what I've been trying to pull out of you all along. Why can't you bring this energy to fighting for justice?" "Because justice," Michael shot back, his voice firm, "doesn't require tearing down people who don't deserve it. Creating positive change doesn't mean humiliating others to make yourself look righteous. Unlike you, I understand the difference between passion and aggression." "Oh, so now I'm cruel and aggressive?" Joy snapped, her tone reaching a fever pitch. "For asking hard questions, for refusing to let you coast by on charm and deflection. That's not cruelty, that's accountability." Michael shook his head in disgust, his jaw tight. "No, Joy. Accountability would be acknowledging that you've spent this entire interview attacking someone, based on your own assumptions and biases. Accountability would be admitting that you came here with an agenda to create conflict rather than understanding." "My agenda." Joy laughed harshly, leaning forward again. "My agenda is to get real answers instead of sanitized talking points. My agenda is to challenge people who have influence to use it responsibly, instead of hiding behind false modesty." "False modesty?" Michael's voice was incredulous, disbelief lacing every word. "You keep using that phrase as if it means something. What you call false modesty, I call genuine humility. What you call hiding, I call strategic thinking. What you call cowardice, I call wisdom." Joy stepped back slightly, her face flushed with anger and exertion. "Wisdom," she spat. "There's nothing wise about staying silent when your voice could make a difference. There's nothing strategic about protecting your image while people suffer, and there's nothing brave about attacking guests on your show. There's nothing noble about turning serious issues into entertainment." Michael countered sharply. "There's nothing heroic about bullying people who come here trying to share their work, their message, or their story." The word, bullying, landed like a physical blow. Joy's expression shifted briefly from anger to shock, but she recovered instantly, her defiance returning with renewed force. "Bullying," she repeated. "I'm the bully here for asking tough questions, for refusing to let you control the narrative. That's rich, coming from someone who has used his platform and privilege to avoid scrutiny for years." Michael looked around the studio, taking in the horrified expressions of the other hosts, the frantic gestures of the producers, and the stunned silence of the audience. When he turned back to Joy, his expression had changed from anger to something closer to pity. "You know what, Joy?" he said, his tone calm but resolute. "You're right about one thing. I have been privileged. Privileged to work with incredible people who taught me that real strength comes from lifting others up, not tearing them down. Privileged to learn from mentors who showed me that leadership is about listening more than talking. And privileged to understand that not every conversation needs to be a battle, not every disagreement a war, and not every interview a spectacle designed to humiliate someone for entertainment." Joy stared at him, seemingly speechless for the first time that evening. Michael straightened his jacket and looked directly into the camera, his gaze steady, unflinching. "I came here today to talk about a project I'm passionate about, a story I believe in, and work I hope will make a positive impact. Instead, I've been subjected to personal attacks, character assassination, and the kind of toxic behavior that drives good people away from public service." He turned back to Joy one final time, his voice firm and resolute. "I hope you got what you wanted out of this. This is the last time I'll give anyone the opportunity to treat me, or anyone else, this way." With that, Michael B. Jordan walked off the view set, leaving Joy Behar standing in stunned silence as the cameras continued to roll. The other hosts remained frozen, unsure how to process what had just unfolded, while the studio audience sat in tense, silent disbelief, absorbing the aftermath of one of the most explosive interviews in daytime television history. What do you think Joy Behar was really trying to accomplish with her aggressive questioning? Was she genuinely seeking accountability? Or was this a calculated effort to generate viral content and boost ratings? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe for more unforgettable celebrity moments that you won't see anywhere else.